Littleton Coin Company is ringing in the holiday season with daily deals. Visit littletoncoin.com for at least 15% off select products now through November 28th. Save on your favorite coins, such as Morgan Silver Dollars, Kennedy Half Dollars, commemorative quarters, and much more. But hurry, each day offers a new deal you don't want to miss. Visit us now at littletoncoin.com. That's littletoncoin.com. Littleton Coin Company, serving collectors since 1945.
Welcome to Bite Size Bios. This is meant to be a mini-sode that will accompany HDTH. Every week, I will pick a person from history and dive into their lives. All right, welcome back to another episode of Bite Size Bios, BSB. This is episode number 21, I believe. We're talking about Marlon Brando. We're going to talk about Mr. Brando and find out all about his life, and boy, will we. This guy, he lived a life. People around him lived a life. We'll get into it. But because this is the mini episode to HDTH, then we must talk about last week's episode. And last week's episode was Hawaii. Learned a lot about Hawaii. Always kind of knew there was some sort of like seedy underbelly to how we got it. I just never quite knew before, and now we know. We know that America basically just kind of came in and low-key took it over. I mean, they kind of did what they do. They came in as Protestant religious missionaries in 1820, and then basically kind of just through sugarcane plantations and other stuff, kind of gained control of the wealth in the country, and then slowly took the laws. You know, and it was it's kind of messed up. It is messed up. You wonder if it'll always be a state. You know, because we don't know what's coming next. We don't know. I mean, it's only been a state for what? 80 years? Something like that. And so they haven't even hit their 100-year anniversary. Not that that's significant for any reason, but will they be in, 150 years ago or 150 years from now, will they still be a state? Probably, but I mean, I don't know. It's just some stuff to think about. But we learned a lot about Hawaii. That's one that I've been wanting to do for a while because, like I said, I didn't know. We're not going to do a bunch of different countries and stuff like that, or states. But there's a few that there are way better people out there on YouTube that do it better than me. I just picked it because I always knew, like I said, I knew the name Kamehameha. I just didn't know why. What even that was about. So I really did want to find out what's going on. Let's see. I don't know if there's anything much else to say before we get to the episode. I want to ramble on like you guys. This episode is a little bit late. I didn't record the other day. I just had one of those days, man. I'm not gonna lie. I just came home and just did not want to do anything. I sat on my couch and listened to a podcast. Just emotionally was kind of out of whack. It's like that sometimes. And to give them a promo, I was listening to White Lies. White Lies is a NPR podcast that kind of goes into the Cuban Revolution, which is something I think we'll be covering here probably pretty soon, because I had someone ask me earlier today, and they said, what was that about? And I was like, you know what? I don't know. Like, literally, when you think about it, I don't know what they were revolting against, which was my exact answer, because I'm trying not to lie to people. I'm trying not to be, that's the whole point of this podcast as well. It's not coming from the point of I know everything. It's coming from the point of I did this research. Let me tell you what I just learned, sort of kind of an angle. And if I don't know, I'll tell you I don't know. That's why I really don't know. But it was about the people who came to America during that time and what they got into. But it's told from the idea of there had been a prison riot in Alabama about 10 years after they got there. And you find out some really messed up stuff, man. You find out some of these guys got off the boat from Cuba and went straight to federal prison and never left it. Like, they lived there for 10 years. There was one guy that talked about it. I forget his name, but he had been. It's a really sad story. I'll jump into it just to show you it's worth maybe listening to it. In Cuba, he had got caught stealing a wheel of cheese, right? I forget what type of cheese. It wouldn't really matter, right? Everybody loves cheese. But he got caught stealing the cheese and was put in jail and labeled a criminal, and ended up being sent from his jail to America. But when he got to America, because he had been in jail in there, but they didn't really know why, they just put him into a federal prison in America, and he lived in Alabama, the Talladega prison for like 10 years, and then was just deported back to Cuba in 10 years after that. And he just died, I think, not too long after that. So it's just a really sad story of there's more to it, man. I would definitely implore you to check it out. But yeah, sorry it's late. I do try to keep a regular schedule. I think the week, was it last week? The HTTH was a little bit late because I actually programmed it wrong. That's all it was. It was all done, but instead I put 4:30 p.m. instead of 4:30 a.m. And so it wasn't. I was looking at it too. That's why I was like, why hasn't it come out yet? But yeah, I appreciate you guys for always pressing play. So I always try to keep it regular because I know what it's like to have podcasts that come out on time. It's a good thing. But as always, if you like what you heard here, you can find more over at htthappen.com. You'll find transcripts of these current episodes that are up there, as well as the videos and pictures that may go along with the episode, and a works site that shows you where I got all the information from. There's also other different blog posts up there. There's a link to the Twitter account, and I'm really looking to actually expand it as the year goes on. I want to put some more of my stuff out there. I may actually end up linking to my actual regular personal photography account, just to kind of to make it a little more all encompassing. But I haven't gotten there yet. But still, go over and check that out. If you're looking for us, it's at HTT Happen on pretty much any social. So if you search that up anywhere, you should find us if we're out there. Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to say. Oh, like and subscribe wherever you hear this. If you want to give us 5 stars, that's awesome. If you want to give us 2 stars and say why you didn't want to give us 5 stars, that's fine as well. Constructive criticism is always welcome. I don't think there's anything else to say. So without further ado, as we're known to do, here is the episode. All right, so today we are talking about Marlon Brando. Mr. Brando, the Godfather, among one of the roles that he's known for very well. Mr. Brando, Marlon, was born in Omaha, Nebraska on April the 3rd, 1924, to Marlon Brando Sr., who was a pesticide and chemical feed manufacturer, and a woman named Dorothy Julia Pennebaker. He had 2 older sisters, one named Jocelyn, the other named Frances. They would end up playing a key role in his life later on. His ancestry is German, Dutch, English, and Irish. So he is just plain old white. And his mother, who's actually known as, I'm guessing this is Dodie, or I think it's Dottie, because the Dorothys I know, we call him Dottie, but it's spelled Dodie. But yeah, Dottie, she was unconventional for her time because she smoked, she wore pants, and even drove a car. This would have been in the early 20s and 30s, so I guess that was a little bit out of place for women. But she actually would go on to open, what is it called? I believe it's called, she opened up a theater in their hometown of Nebraska, Omaha. And it became pretty famous. Henry Fonda actually started his acting career there. I thought I had the name. Let me see if I can find the name really fast. It was the Omaha Community Playhouse. That's what it was called. And it was too hard to find that. It's not even listed, I think, on his Wikipedia. I had to go to Henry Fonda's Wikipedia to find that. But so she opened basically the theater where Henry Fonda kind of got his start. She was a big alcoholic, and they would often have to go to the bars, him and his sisters, to pull his mom out of the bars. Basically, because she was more interested in being drunk than being a mother. And in his autobiography, Songs My Mother Taught Me, he was quoted as saying, "The anguish that her drinking produced was that she preferred getting drunk to caring for us," end quote. And so it was a really, large point of contention for him growing up. He would end up being held back a year in school and was later expelled from Libertyville High School for what I would say is some of the dopest stuff ever. He was riding his motorcycle through the hallways. I mean, even if you don't know anything about this guy, you have to be impressed. That's impressive. So he was sent, once he got expelled, he was sent to a place called Shattuck Military Academy, and it's in Minnesota. His father had actually gone there as well before him, and he did theater there, and was well liked for, most people liked him there. And then he ended up getting put on probation in 1943 for doing some what they call insubordinate stuff when an Army colonel came to visit them during some maneuvers. And so because of that, he was confined to his room, but actually ended up sneaking out and going into town. They caught him, and the faculty on the board chose to expel him. They would actually go on to invite him back again the next year, but he basically just decided that he wasn't going to go back. He dropped out of high school and began his work as a ditch digger, which is a summer job that was arranged by his father. He tried to enlist in the Army after this, but his physical for the Army revealed that he actually had what's called a trick knee when he played football in high school. And I had to look that up. I've heard of it before, but I figured just for the pod, full disclosure, let's find out what a trick knee is. It's like a knee basically that pops out of place. And I've seen this stuff. I just didn't know it was called a trick knee, but that's what he had. And it's crazy how you don't know that before you go. or he thought he maybe could get by and they wouldn't notice? Because you would think that'd be something that you would be aware of if it was on your own body. Like I played sports in college, and I know there's some injuries that I have, and I know where they are, and when I hear them pop, I can remember what happened. You know what I mean? So I can't imagine that he didn't know about the trick knee. So once the Army didn't work out, he decided to follow his sisters to New York. Remember I said they would play a large part in his life. Basically, he went and lived with them. One was being an artist, one was being an actress. He began to study at the American Theater Wing Professional School, which those schools in New York have the oddest names. The American Theater Wing Professional School? What is that? Is it a wing of a building? Is it a school? Is it a theater? Is it in America? I don't know. It's all of them. The American Theater Wing Professional School. All right, let me get that off my chest, which is part of the dramatic workshop of the new school. There we go. So it's just a part of another school with a crazy long name. In an A&E biography on Marlon Brando, a man named George England said that Brando basically did acting because he was, quote, accepted there, end quote. They said he wasn't criticized, and it was the first time in his life that he had heard good things about himself. That's also a part of the quote, actually, full disclosure. But so I think that's a big part of anybody. When you find your thing, when you find what's important to you, or not even that, it's not that you find what's important to you, is that once you realize you're doing something that where there's no like errors and there's no real judgment, or you're doing it well, then it becomes important to you. So I think that's actually what happened to him. He wasn't always set out to be an actor, but once he did it, he really enjoyed the community and enjoyed what he kind of got back from it. He was an avid student and proponent of the Stella Adler, whom he learned the techniques of the Stanislavski system, that encouraged the actor to explore both internal and external aspects to fully realize the character being portrayed. This is like a whole different kind of acting method. It said that he was the first to bring a natural approach to acting on film. According to Dustin Hoffman in his online masterclass, Brando would often talk to cameramen and fellow actors about their weekend, even after the director would call action. And once he felt that he could deliver the dialogue as natural as that conversation would actually be delivered, he would then start the dialogue. So it's actually really interesting, and I wonder if they still employ that method in acting today, because basically what they're saying is, he's sitting there in a regular conversation before they call action. Director calls action, he keeps talking because it's a regular conversation, and then he kind of flows into the lines, which make it seem more natural. I think it's actually pretty remarkable. He made his debut, his Broadway debut, in October 19th, 1944, in I Remember Mama, which was a great success. He would actually, from that, he would get a lot of people who wanted to hire him, but due to the way that the laws were, the rules, I'm not sure what you would describe them as, were set up during that time. If you signed on to like a movie deal, you'd have to sign on for like a 7-year contract, and he didn't like that. So actually, he did sit down after the first Broadway, his debut, and people were like, "Wow, you're really good. Like, we want you to come work for us." And he's like, "Nah, I know how y'all do." So he wouldn't actually make his film debut until 1950 in Fred Zinnemann's The Men. And in this, he played a paraplegic soldier. And this is another way that he was able to bring his realism to the screen. And in preparation for this role, he spent an entire month in a hospital paraplegic ward. And so he really is, gathering the frame of reference, I guess. I wonder how much you get from a month. Is a month enough? I feel like it's not enough. I feel like it's enough to say it to somebody and for them to be like, "Oh, you must have really got it." A month? I don't know. Let's see Christmas. Like if you saw a month, maybe you saw July. What's Halloween like? What's Groundhog's Day like for people in that? I just feel like you say, "Oh, I did a month, man." It's like, well, you saw 30 days of their life. I don't know if it's enough, but I don't know. We're just getting off track here. He did a few things after this. Very next, not the very next, but the next thing he did that he would be renowned for is A Streetcar Named Desire. It's a 1951 film that was based on the play. And what's interesting, and I love when they do this, when you see these guys, and it doesn't happen as much these days. It's still happening right now, I think a little bit, is when they get the people, the mainstays on Broadway, then actually play the characters in the movie roles whenever they bring a movie from Broadway to film. I think it's great. I think because, and that's what happened here is Brando played Kowalski in the stage production of A Streetcar Named Desire. So he had when you do that, I think even more than just learning the lines as an actor, when you really play a character for a long time, you get into them. When you're doing that, because I acted for a small amount of time. This was nothing to write home about. But I did stage acting, and it's different. Well, I can say it's different. I've never done screen time, but you're day in and day out and then and the difference is I think because with a movie, once you record it, it's on film, right? It's done. You don't have to do it anymore. Once you've gotten the play where you want it to be, if you're a stage actor, you just have to keep doing it and keep doing it for people. That's how plays work. So he must have gotten much more out of it than just if someone had come along and played Kowalski. And I actually have the stage play, the written version of A Streetcar Named Desire, and I've read it numerous times. It is a very good offering, I believe. And then he went. He started a few more things. He did Viva Zapata, 52. He was in The Wild Ones. He was Julius Caesar as well. Let's see, because and I've said before, these are not just going to be a list of their credits, just listing, the movies they did, because that's not interesting. We're going to get into some stuff because later on in his life, his son gets into a little bit of a tiff, but we're going to get to that here in a second. All right, so we're going to skip to the bullet points of this man's life. Not quite, but a little bit. Let's see. What I thought was interesting, I didn't know. I don't know much about Marlon Brando besides the fact that he's the Godfather. We'll get to that, brush over that here in a second. And A New Streetcar Named Desire, because like even though I said I have the stage play, the written the playbook. It's not a playbook. I don't know why I put playbill and stage play together. I got playbook. The playbook is for sports, but he's on the cover of the book that I have that has the stage play in it for Streetcar Named Desire. But interesting fact about him is he was at the March on Washington in 1963 with MLK. He was at the I Have a Dream speech. I mean, that must be there's a class of individuals I imagine out there who can say that. It's like for me, for certain things, I've been places. I was in Charlottesville when all this stuff happened about 5 or 6 years ago. I was there taking pictures, and you can see them there on my Instagram, actually, which I've never mentioned here. I have a photography Instagram, c.rich.shoot, see.rich.shoot. But yeah, so I knew when I was there that I was witnessing history. I knew before that I went there that it was going to be something relatively historic. But when you're there and you witness it and you see it, you're like, oh, this will get written down and remembered, kind of thing. And I wonder. I say that to say I wonder if he felt the same way, because it's just kind of say where not to say where you were during that day, because I don't think it's not like that. It's not like 9/11 or like MLK or JFK or MLK getting shot. They both were murdered in the same decade. But to say you had been there, that must be cool to say. But yeah, so he was there. Dude bought an island in the South Pacific. It's called Tita Yoroa. You know what? You guys know how I don't know how to do this stuff. So it starts with a T and it's 27 square miles. He bought it in 1966. Still had it up until the point he died. Got badly damaged in a hurricane in 1983. And we're jumping ahead a little bit, but his career kind of went down a little bit towards the late 60s and into the early 70s, and came back. He was quote unquote reborn when he starred as Don Corleone in The Godfather, which if you listen to the main podcast of this, I believe I mentioned I just watched those like a month ago, like 2 months ago, for the first time. I'd seen different bits and pieces, parts of it, but never had actually ever sat down and just watched all three of them. I'm not sure if I saw the third one. I know I saw the first two, but yeah, so he wins an Academy Award for this, Best Actor. He turned down the Oscar in protest of Hollywood's treatment of Native Americans, right? And then he sends a Native American woman to accept the Oscar, except this Native American woman is not actually Native American. She was just an actress. And it's just like, whoa, dude. Like whoa. So, let's see, the last thing, let's see. He was a really good friend of Michael Jackson. I don't know if anybody knew that. I definitely didn't know that. I'm not sure. That's just like they said he would go to Neverland Ranch all the time. So his son Miko was Michael Jackson's bodyguard for a while. So they have like a real full connection. And so Brando got married a bunch of times, a whole handful of times. He married this Indian woman named Anna Kashfi in 1957. They got divorced after 2 years. And in the midst of that, she paid somebody $10,000 to have their kid, Christian, kidnapped while Marlon Brando was away filming Last Tango in Paris. Like, this guy, his life is like a movie. Well, it's It's wild. And this happened, like I said, in 72. He would go on to marry another woman named Movita Castaneda. Cool name. They had 2 children. Let's see. Brando then got a third woman who has a name similar to his island that I cannot pronounce. It's like Terapia. So he got her. She was 20 at the time. They were married for 10 years, 2 more kids, Simon and Cheyenne. And he ended up having, I think, at least 11 kids, and 5 of them were with 3 of his Guatemalan housekeepers. Not even the same housekeeper. Not even 1 or 2 housekeepers. This man has safe to say he might have a fetish. That sounds like a fetish. I've seen Guatemalan women. They're not bad, but I mean, sounds like he might have a fetish. Because I mean, 5? So there's 5 half Guatemalan Marlon Brando little seeds running around out there, just if you're looking. I thought that was wild. And the last thing we're going to really talk about, I think we have here, is the little thing that his son, I believe it's his son. Let me get it right. His son shot a man in the 90s. Yes. His son Christian was convicted of voluntary manslaughter in the death of his sister's fiance, Dag Drolet. Interesting name. He received 10 years in prison for that. So on May 15th, 1991, a man was shot in the head while watching television in Brando's den. So this all happened in Brando's house. Brando was at home. He heard the gunshot and raced to the scene and began giving mouth to mouth to try to save the man's life, whose head had just gotten blown off. It was too late. Dag Drolet was dead at 26 years old. So Marlon's son, Christian, he shot his sister's dude in a drunken rage after she'd claimed at dinner hours earlier that Drolet was beating her. So he heard that this dude was beating on his sister. He was drunk. He got really mad and went and blew his head off. And this is crazy. She ended up later on saying the abuse was a lie. And then she committed suicide 5 years later. We're still talking about Marlon Brando, folks. I'm just saying we're looking at all the different offshoots of this man's life, and it is quite a few. Not even to mention that his first wife tried to get his kid kidnapped. I think the same kid, no, a different kid. But like this, I mean, imagine, I don't have these kind of stories in my life. Crazy. But yeah, so she committed suicide 5 years later. Cause I don't know what cause. I'm not going to even speculate on that. But she definitely then retracted her statement about being abused. And I mean, then in Christian's, in his defense, he said there was a struggle, and then he shot him in the face, which is, I don't know if that's better. But yeah, that's pretty much Marlon Brando. He died of pulmonary fibrosis in LA in 2004 at the age of 80. He lived a good long life. He was cremated, and it says his ashes were put in with another person's, which I never even thought about that. Whoa, and then scattered in a part of Death Valley. So they mixed up him and a guy named Wally Cox. They mixed him. Let's see who Wally Cox is, because I didn't even see that. And then we're gonna go ahead and get you guys out of here. But I am curious about Wally Cox. Okay, so Wally Cox, actual name Wallace Maynard Cox, was an actor who began as a stand-up comedian and then was the title character of the popular early U.S. television series Mr. Peepers. Never heard of it, but that's a pretty cool title. Went on to kind of just become, a regular actor and stuff like that. But okay, so that's who Marlon Brando mixed his ashes with. All right, that was another episode of Bite Size Bios. Hope you guys liked it. I'm trying to pick people that I don't know about and that I don't think a lot of people of a certain age know about. I know if you're older, you know who Marlon Brando is, but I swear if you ask people under like 40, a lot of them do not know. I mean, I'm not 40, but I'm 32, and most people that I know that are around my age don't really have a great handle on stuff like this. So yeah, we learned a lot about him. We learned that he's but gave mouth to mouth to his son-in-law when his actual son blew his head off. I didn't see that coming. Curveball. That's a curveball for me for sure. The kidnapping of his other kid, being the Godfather, all this good stuff. Riding the motorcycle through the school halls, to me, still though, takes the cake. That is remarkable. But yeah, hope you guys liked it. There'll be another episode of HTTH coming out here pretty soon. You can always go over to htthappen.com and find out more about these episodes. There's a works site out there that shows you where I get all the information from. I'll throw some video or some pictures up there. Like and subscribe wherever you find this. Give us 5 stars if you like to. Give us 4 stars, whatever you want to do. If you want to give us 2 stars and tell us why you don't want to give us any more than that, that's fine as well. Constructive criticism is always welcome. But yeah, I think there's not much more to say. Thank you for pressing play, guys. I really do appreciate it. We are in year 2 of this podcast. And like I said earlier, I never even thought about the idea of years, like there being years. Like this is year 2. I wonder what year 3 will be. You know, I have a lot of different ideas for this podcast. But yeah, I appreciate you guys always coming back every week. And see you in a couple days with the next HDTH.
The holidays start here at Baker's with a variety of options to celebrate traditions old and new. Whether you're making a traditional roasted turkey or spicy turkey tacos, your go-to shrimp cocktail, or your first Cajun risotto, Baker's has all the freshest ingredients to embrace your traditions. Baker's, fresh for everyone.
Choose from a great selection of digital coupons and use them up to 5 times in one transaction. Check our app for details. Baker's, fresh for everyone.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.